Sometimes things change, and you can feel it, but you're not sure what's actually going on. She used to be excited to see you, wanted to talk, made an effort. Now something's different. It's not always obvious, but it's there. Welcome to the channel. If you're watching this, chances are you've noticed a shift in your relationship. Maybe the vibe feels off. She's distant, less affectionate, less invested, and you're wondering if you're imagining it, or if something's really slipping away. What we're talking about today are 5 clear signs that a woman is losing interest in the relationship. These are the changes that start small, but usually mean something deeper is happening underneath. Many men miss them because they're looking for something big, some kind of argument or announcement. But when women start disconnecting, they often don't say it. They just start acting differently. This isn't about playing detective or overanalyzing everything she does. It's about paying attention to the way the connection feels and the ways it starts to fade when she's no longer emotionally in it. This can happen in the early stages of dating or years into a relationship. Either way, it usually builds slowly. You don't fix something you can't see, so the earlier you notice the shift, the better chance you have to understand it and do something about it if it's worth saving. In the next sections, I'll walk you through the signs to look out for and what they usually mean. The goal here is to help you be more aware, not paranoid. When you understand what's really happening, you can stop guessing and start moving with clarity. Let's get into it. 1. She stops arguing because she's checked out. At first, it might seem like a good thing. Fewer arguments, less tension, and things feel more peaceful. But here's the catch. When a woman stops arguing, it often doesn't mean the relationship is improving. It can mean she's mentally checking out. The passion is gone, and she no longer sees the point in trying to fix what's broken. When a woman still cares, she'll speak up. She'll challenge you, push back, and want to talk about what's bothering her, even if it leads to disagreement. That's not drama. That's emotional investment. She's still fighting for the relationship, not against you. She wants things to be better, which is why she reacts when something feels off. But when she starts losing interest, the energy shifts. She no longer has the patience to go back and forth. She doesn't want to explain how she feels. She doesn't ask for change, and she stops trying to get you to understand her. She just lets things slide, because she's already detached. There was a time you forgot to call when you said you would. She got upset, wanted to talk about it, and you ended up going back and forth over how communication matters. Now the same thing happens, and she says, "It's fine," and moves on like nothing happened. She's not fine. She's just done investing in the conversation. That silence feels lighter in the moment, but what it really means is she no longer believes talking will fix anything. It's not acceptance. It's emotional resignation. Arguing takes energy. Explaining takes effort. And when she's checked out, she's not willing to give either anymore. She's finally not complaining, or she's not so emotional these days. But it's not peace. It's emotional distance. The part of her that used to care enough to push back has gone quiet. That silence? It's not a pause. It's the beginning of the end if you don't catch it early. A woman who's still emotionally connected wants to be heard, even when it's uncomfortable. She wants to work through things. When she stops arguing, what she's really doing is disconnecting, quietly, gradually, and without saying a word. If you're noticing that shift, don't take it as a win. Pay attention, because once she stops trying to fix things, she's usually already started thinking about a future without you in it. 2. Her texts turn cold and robotic. One of the easiest ways to tell when a woman is losing interest is through how she texts. Communication used to be quick, playful, and warm. You'd get messages with some thought behind them, maybe emojis, jokes, or just consistent check-ins throughout the day. You felt like she wanted to stay connected. But when her interest starts to fade, that connection drops fast. You'll start to notice her texts getting shorter, colder, and more mechanical. You send something with effort, and she replies with lol or okay. Conversations that used to flow now die off quickly. You're doing most of the work just to keep things going. She might still respond, but it feels dry. No energy, no interest. Her replies come hours later. There's no follow-up. You might tell her something important, and instead of reacting or showing curiosity, she brushes past it. It feels like texting a coworker, not someone you're in a relationship with. Now, this doesn't mean she's mad at you. It doesn't even mean there's a fight going on. What it usually means is that her emotional engagement is dropping. She doesn't feel the need to stay close, and texting becomes just another task she doesn't care much about anymore. Some men try to ignore it or explain it away. She's probably busy. Sure, sometimes she is. But when the pattern continues, when this becomes the new normal, it's not about being busy, it's about priorities. When a woman is into you, she finds small ways to stay connected, even during a hectic day. When she's not, texting becomes optional. Another thing you might notice is she stops initiating. You're always the one starting the conversation. And if you don't text first, you won't hear from her at all. That's a big shift. In a healthy connection, communication goes both ways. If it feels like you're chasing her just to get a basic reply, her interest is likely on the decline. Also, the tone changes. Her messages used to have warmth and personality. Now they feel like she's just going through the motions, short, emotionless, and dry. That change in tone is a sign she's emotionally pulling away, whether she's saying it out loud or not. If you're constantly wondering if she even wants to talk to you anymore, that alone is a red flag. Communication doesn't need to be 24/7, but it should feel natural and mutual. When it starts feeling cold and robotic, something has shifted. Don't ignore it. Pay attention to how she communicates, not just if she does. Because how she texts tells you exactly how connected or disconnected she's starting to feel. 3. You're no longer part of her plans. One of the biggest signs a woman is pulling away is when she stops including you in her plans. It doesn't always happen in one big, obvious moment. It usually starts small and builds over time. She begins living more independently, not in a healthy, balanced way, but in a way that quietly shuts you out. When a woman is still emotionally invested, her plans naturally involve you. Even if she has her own life, her own schedule, and her own goals, she still thinks in terms of we. She'll bring you up when talking about the weekend. She'll ask if you're free before committing to something else. She'll talk about future things, vacations, events, even long-term ideas, with the assumption that you'll be around for them. But when she starts losing interest, that shifts to me. Suddenly, she's making plans without checking in. She's going places, doing things, and spending time with people, and not even mentioning it until after the fact, if at all. You stop being part of her picture, not because of one argument or mistake, but because she no longer feels the need to include you. This isn't about control. You shouldn't be involved in everything she does. But in a connected relationship, both people want to involve each other. It's not about obligation, it's about desire. When she stops wanting you around for important or even casual parts of her life, that's a sign something deeper has shifted. You may also notice she avoids making future plans with you. If you bring up a trip, a concert, or anything that involves looking ahead, she stays vague. She might say things like, "We'll see," or "I'm not sure what I'm doing then." She's keeping things open, not because she's indecisive, but because she's uncertain about the relationship itself. Another shift happens in how she talks about her goals. In the past, she may have spoken in a way that included you, her next career move, a move to a new city, life 5 years from now. If that starts sounding like a solo mission, that's something to pay attention to. When she no longer sees you in her future, she stops planning like you're part of it. You might be physically present, but emotionally, you're slowly being written out of the script. If you notice this happening, don't wait for some big conversation to confirm it. The pattern is the message. When she stops including you, it usually means she's already halfway out the door in her mind. This kind of emotional distancing doesn't reverse on its own. It takes awareness and effort from both people. And if only one person is trying to stay connected while the other is mentally moving on, the direction of the relationship is already clear. 4. Affection becomes a chore. When a woman starts to lose interest, one of the most noticeable changes is in how she shows affection. Things that once came naturally, holding your hand, hugging you, playful touching, casual kisses, start to feel forced or even disappear altogether. It's not about her being cold or angry. It's about her no longer feeling that emotional pull that drives affection in the first place. In a relationship where there's still connection and attraction, affection flows without much thought. She leans on you when sitting close, touches your arm during a conversation, smiles at you without a reason. These are all small signals that show comfort, interest, and emotional closeness. But when that bond starts to weaken, the physical side of the relationship often fades with it. You'll notice she stops initiating touch. She pulls away faster. Her body language feels closed off. Even when you try to show affection, the response is lukewarm or minimal. Not angry, just uninterested. What makes this shift harder to deal with is that it often happens gradually. One day she's still being sweet, the next it feels like you're the only one reaching out. You might not even realize how much affection has changed until you stop and think about how it used to be. The deeper issue here isn't just physical distance, it's emotional distance. Affection is one of the main ways people maintain closeness in a relationship. When that fades, it usually means something underneath is off. She might be holding back because she's unsure about how she feels. Or maybe she doesn't feel emotionally connected anymore, and the desire to be close just isn't there. You might try harder, hoping that more attention, more affection from you will fix things. But if she's checked out emotionally, it won't land the same way. She'll accept it, maybe, but she won't return it with the same warmth. It ends up feeling one-sided. Another thing to pay attention to is how she reacts when you bring up intimacy or connection. If she avoids the conversation, brushes it off, or says she's tired all the time, there's a good chance she's no longer feeling the emotional spark that used to drive that closeness. Now, everyone goes through moments in a relationship where affection dips. Life gets busy, stress comes in, and sometimes people just need space. But when this becomes a long-term pattern, with no explanation, it's usually a sign of fading interest. The bottom line is simple. When a woman is still emotionally invested, affection is part of how she expresses that. When she stops showing affection, especially when she used to be very physically or emotionally warm, it means something important has changed. Pay attention to how she shows up, not just in words, but in how she touches, connects, and responds to you physically. That tells you a lot more than what she says. 5. She's flirting with the idea of being single. When a woman starts to lose interest in a relationship, it often shows up in the way she starts thinking and talking about life without you. She may not say it directly, but her mindset begins to shift. She starts focusing more on herself, her goals, her time, her independence, and less on you and the relationship as a team. You might notice that she talks more about doing things on her own. She starts using language that sounds more solo-minded. Things like, "I've been thinking about taking a trip on my own," or "I want to start focusing more on myself." These aren't necessarily bad things. Everyone needs independence. But when the emotional closeness is already fading, these statements are part of something bigger. There's this in-between phase that a lot of women go through before a breakup. It's not a full emotional exit yet, but it's close. She starts mentally preparing for what life would feel like if she were single. It's subtle. She's not packing bags or having fights, but she's pulling her energy away from the relationship and putting it into her own space. Sometimes physically, sometimes emotionally, sometimes both. Let's say you talk about weekend plans. She used to get excited about spending time together. Now her response is more like, "I'm not sure what I'm doing yet. I might just have a me day." She says it casually, but what's really happening is she's starting to enjoy distance from the relationship. She's trying on the idea of being on her own, just to see how it feels. This doesn't mean she's doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean she's cheating or being disrespectful. What it usually means is she's reevaluating whether she still wants to be in the relationship. And more importantly, she's starting to like the feeling of not having to answer to anyone or share her time with someone else. This is the phase where some guys really start to panic. They try harder to bring her back in. More texts, more plans, more pressure to reconnect. But that usually pushes her further. Because if she's already leaning toward freedom, any extra effort can feel like weight to her. What matters here is recognizing the shift. When a woman is committed, she thinks in we. When she starts shifting to me, it's a sign her interest is slipping. She may not have made a decision yet, but mentally, She's testing the idea of life without you. And if she starts to like it, she won't look back. If you feel her pulling into that mindset, don't just chase harder. Take a step back and ask yourself, what caused that distance? What's missing from the connection that used to be there? That self-awareness matters. Because if she's flirting with the idea of being single, it means she's starting to feel like the relationship is no longer giving her what she needs. 6. She avoids emotional conversations. When a woman starts to lose interest, one of the most noticeable signs is how she handles emotional conversations. Or more accurately, how she avoids them. In a healthy relationship, talking about feelings, problems, and the future is a normal part of staying connected. Even if it's not always easy, both people still make the effort because they care about where things are going. But when her interest fades, that effort disappears. She starts avoiding deeper conversations altogether. You bring something up, maybe about how she's been acting differently or how the connection feels off, and she quickly shuts it down. She might say things like, "I don't want to talk about this right now," or "You're overthinking it." And just like that, the conversation ends. You can feel the difference. She's no longer emotionally available. She doesn't ask how you're feeling, and she definitely doesn't open up about how she's feeling. It becomes surface level. The conversations are short, neutral, and safe. She keeps things light not because she's happy, but because she doesn't want to go any deeper. This creates a wall between you and her. And it's not just about one or two missed conversations. It's a pattern. The more you try to connect emotionally, the more she avoids it. That silence starts to say a lot more than any words could. At this point, some guys try to force the conversation. They keep pushing for answers, asking what's wrong, trying to fix something they don't fully understand. But if she's emotionally checked out, those attempts usually backfire. She either gets more distant or starts saying things just to end the conversation, not because she actually wants to fix anything. You'll also notice she stops showing interest in your emotional world. She used to ask how your day went, how you were feeling, or what was on your mind. Now she doesn't seem to care. She might respond if you bring something up, but she doesn't ask. That emotional give and take is gone. This kind of disconnection doesn't always come with a big argument or dramatic moment. It's usually quiet. She's not yelling, she's not accusing you of anything, but she's not connecting either. It's the absence of emotional engagement that signals the shift. When a woman avoids emotional conversations, it's often because she no longer feels emotionally tied to the relationship. Talking about feelings takes energy, and if she's not planning to stay, she doesn't want to invest that energy anymore. She's mentally pulling away, and emotional conversations don't serve a purpose for her at that point. That's why this sign matters so much. It's not just about communication, it's about emotional presence. If she's no longer showing up in that way, something is already slipping out of reach. 7. She doesn't care if you walk away. One of the most painful signs that a woman has lost interest is when she stops caring whether you stay or go. There's no reaction, no fight, no emotional response. Just a quiet indifference that says more than words ever could. At this point, the emotional connection has worn thin. She's not trying to keep you close anymore. If you pull away, she doesn't chase. If you stop putting in effort, she doesn't ask why. That's not strength or patience. It's detachment. It's easy to miss this, because she's not angry or dramatic. She might still be physically present, still going through the motions, but the energy's different. You can feel she's already checked out in her mind, and she's just waiting for things to end, or for you to finally call it. This is where a lot of guys make a mistake. They wait too long to notice the distance, then panic when the emotional silence becomes obvious. They suddenly start trying, texting more, planning dates, asking deep questions. But by that time, she's already moved on emotionally. Now it feels like you're trying to drag her back into something she's already mentally left. Here's the part that stings. She didn't become this distant overnight. There were signs. Maybe she was pulling away slowly. Less affection, fewer conversations, more time to herself. And instead of addressing it early, you convinced yourself it was just a phase. You got comfortable. You stopped leading. You didn't notice her fading because you weren't fully paying attention. That's the wake-up call here. When a woman stops caring if you walk away, It means you've stopped giving her reasons to stay emotionally invested. And that's not always about being a bad partner. Sometimes it's about being passive, distracted, emotionally unavailable, focused on everything except the relationship until it's already slipping through your fingers. So if this sounds familiar, don't go into damage control mode. Take a breath and reflect. Ask yourself honestly, have I been fully present? Have I been showing up, not just physically, but emotionally? Have I made her feel seen, valued, and connected? Because if the answer is no, you still have two choices. You can keep ignoring it and hope things fix themselves, which they won't. Or you can face it, have the hard conversations, and either repair what's broken or part ways with some clarity and growth. This isn't about begging someone to care again. It's about recognizing when you've let something slip and choosing to be a better man going forward, either in this relationship or the next one. A woman who's truly lost interest won't fight you anymore, but you can choose to fight for your own growth. That's where your power is. Don't wait until she's gone to start being the man you should have been when she was still there. When a woman starts losing interest, she rarely announces it. It doesn't always come with a dramatic fight or a final message. Most of the time, it shows up in quiet changes. Less effort, less emotion, less presence. And if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it until she's already halfway out the door. Here's something most men don't realize until it's too late. A woman leaves you emotionally long before she ever physically walks away. That's why it's so important to spot the signs early and respond with awareness, not panic. If you saw yourself in any of these sections, take it seriously. Don't brush it off or hope it passes. Reflect on where the disconnect started. Did you stop showing up fully? Did you ignore what she needed emotionally? These are the hard questions, but they're also the ones that help you grow. And look, this isn't about blaming yourself or blaming her. It's about being honest with where things are and deciding what kind of man you want to be moving forward. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Have you experienced any of these signs before? Are you going through something like this right now? Drop your experience in the comments. I'll be down there replying and having real conversations with you. This space is for men who want to be sharper, stronger, and more self-aware in their relationships. So speak up. I'm listening.